Well, summer's over. It is knitting season. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and what are we, less than 4 months out from the holidays? And so I know people are busy making their plans and hopefully got all their kids off to school and they have a little peace and quiet. We have a really, really special guest today, which I'm so delighted that you were here, Betsan, because this is your second book, Crochet Therapy, and the first one was one that you self-published and might not have gotten the wide range of reach that it absolutely deserved. And I'm hopeful that the second book sends people running for the first one because it's such an interesting, and I think in the crazy world that we're living in now, so important. We see these articles all the time about how needlework is, it's always like the new yoga or the new meditation or the new Zen. It's like always like it's usually the new yoga. And and for me, for when I get to meet authors this way, I'm always so fascinated because people come from such different backgrounds to come to the point where they're writing about needlework. And some of them are just come from design schools, and we've had mathematicians and people who do technical writing and like all kinds of backgrounds. I myself was a trial lawyer for 25 years. People come from such different places, but you are absolutely come from the most interesting background of anybody I've ever interviewed to come to write books about knit and crochet. Since this is your first visit here, can you kind of just tell everybody, um, you know, where you come from, in terms of your background, because it's really interesting.
Yes, up until 2002, I was a senior physiotherapist working in the NHS over here in the UK. Um, and I got fed up with the system that I found myself in. So I had a major change of career and became a freelance production editor for a range of camera and computer magazines. Um, and I found myself working then on the craft portfolio of this magazine publisher, and they published some of the biggest cross-stitching and knitting magazines at the time. And as with all freelancers, they tend to give us the jobs that nobody else liked. Nobody liked doing the letters pages. But I actually loved doing them because it entailed reading all the letters that came into the office every day, and they got sacks full of letters. And I reckon about 98% of these letters talked about the therapeutic benefits of crafts, but particularly knitting. Um, and they were telling really profound stories. I remember the first one I picked up was from a 14-year-old girl who said, I have to go into hospital a lot, and I don't have to take my pain medication when I knit. And I thought, wow, this is really, really interesting. So I was able to read all these letters with a medical knowledge. So it was really a case of stumbling across something. And at first I thought it was just sort of a case of occupying people, but the more I looked into it, the more I researched the science behind what all these knitters were saying, the more interesting it became. And I realized that I'd actually stumbled across something that was really important and something that could be used as a really efficient tool to help people improve their well-being.
Yeah, and
That's
I
how it started.
yeah, and it's interesting because I hear a lot from other knitters that I meet how knitting helped them through some really horrible period in their life. And then for people like me, where like I'm terrified to fly. I hate to fly, absolutely hate to fly, but if I knit, I'm fine. And your first book, which I really highly recommend, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and it is available on Amazon. Really kind of goes into the what your brain is doing while your knitting and crocheting, and how in fact it can help you like improve your physical as well as mental well-being, which I found really fascinating because I hear a lot of the mental part, that knitting helped me, my mom was sick, or I was in the hospital for 6 months or something, where that knitting is where this, how they interpret it is that it's mentally it saved them from losing it. But there's really a physical component to this that I think that gets missed a lot in the telling of the story, is how you can actually improve your health with knitting and crochet.
Yes, there is. And, we know now that the mind and body are inextricably linked. So what goes on in your mind gets reflected in your body and vice versa. We know that your thoughts can affect your well-being and your, mentally and physically. For example, the way you think can affect how your immune system functions. So when I first heard that, I thought, wow, the way I think can influence whether I get a cold or not. And I think one of the main facts that I've uncovered in my research is that every one of us has the power to change ourselves neurologically and biologically, and that we can use knitting as an effective tool to facilitate that change.
Yeah, and
I'm often sorry,
no, go ahead.
I'm often asked if there's a difference between knitting and therapeutic knitting, and that sort of idea has evolved over the years. In that I first started researching the science behind what people were saying, and then over the years have developed what I call therapeutic knitting, and I would say that that is a combination of knitting and knowledge. So it's knowledge about your own well-being. If you have a medical condition, it's knowledge about that condition, but also knowledge about how you can use knitting as a tool to improve your well-being. So anybody can use it to improve their well-being, but it can also be taken a step further to manage a whole range of medical conditions.
Yeah, I mean it's when I was, because you were kind enough to send me the first book, and I was reading through parts of it last night, and I was just really blown away about even the concept that that knitting and crochet can help you heal your body as well as like calm your brain, which I think for a lot of us, like, and it depends on the project you're working on. Like right now I'm working on a wrap that's just yards of stockinette, and I find it very restful because I don't have to think about it, and it's repetitive, and I love the color, and it's mohair, it's soft in my hands, so it has that aspect to it. But the what I really loved about the book, and of course I started with Crochet Therapy because that's the first one I saw, was how the book incorporates those projects into basically exercises that you can do to really help full well-being across the board. And it's not just mindfulness, which I think is like that meditative quality, but there's so many ways that you can use it to just make every level of your life, your friendships, your relationships, I mean everything, you know is all like all the things we love about knitting and crochet. I think that's hard to put into words for people who do it. You've actually managed to express that. We know we like to do it. We know we like
Yeah.
to join groups and do it. And I don't think I ever really gave much thought to the why of that. It was just I enjoyed it. And so for you to be able to take all that and kind of and put it into words, I mean, it was such an amazing read. And I think this belongs, even the crochet book as well, belongs in every knitter's library. And I think the knitting book belongs in every knitter's, crocheters, needle pointers, whatever they do. It really goes into a lot of depth into the science, the neuroscience behind using these kind of crafts, especially the repetitive kinds, to create and help with all levels of your well-being. It was really an amazing read. So yeah, and Kate says you can really lose yourself in knitting and crochet, and Mary says it really helps with calming. I think it's hard to be frantic and knit or crochet at the same time. I think a little,
Yes, I would agree. Yes.
yeah, it's, I mean, I think a little calm in every day is not a bad thing, given how we now mostly lead our lives. Not me anymore, but when I was still practicing law, I mean, even that 10 minutes of, let it go, do something else kind of thing is really important. So let's get to the book because I've been just like chatting away about how much I loved it. Um, so it, and this is, I know you had help from some great designers in this book to have projects that that kind of utilize and illustrate the concepts and the exercises and kind and the it's interesting because I love it because you're doing two things at once, but the and how you can um, use different techniques and different and even like the color palettes in the book, that create a different a kind of a different energy for yourself, which is really nice. And Kate says she loves the cover, which I agree. That cover just speaks peace and calm to me. But these are what I did is I just kind of pulled some of the topics and exercises that people will find in the book. And tell me how you came up with the little exercises and kind of practice things to help people really maximize what they get out of knitting or crochet.
Well, in 2013, we actually published a survey. We did a survey of over 3,500 knitters from over 31 countries. And we themed the answers we got from there. So pulled out some themes about what people found useful about knitting, and all these issues here are reflected in that. So I think it's really important that when you're dealing with your well-being, that you have a tool or have a toolbox, a
Mhm.
well-being toolbox. Because when you really need something to manage your stress or to bring down your stress levels, and you're feeling highly stressed, then it's very difficult to relax. But if you've got a tool at hand that you can use anytime, anywhere, then you're already a long way towards that relaxation. And just knowing that you have a tool that you can use anytime, anywhere, gives you a sense of control. It means that you have control over most situations that you find yourself in, most reasonable situations that you find yourself in, anyway, and certainly have control over your response to situations. The big thing that raises knitting and crochet above other craft activities is their portability,
Yeah.
because it means you can use it wherever you are. You can use it even in the middle of the night when things can often seem much darker. So their portability raises it above other crafts. So
Yeah,
you can enter these
and I
mind
think
states
that's
wherever
that's that's really a draw. I think for a lot of people is they can take it on the train, they can take it to the doctor's office, or if you live in a city that has gridlock traffic, you can knit in between the 10 feet you're going to move in your car every 5 minutes. But it's unlike quilting or scrapbooking or there are a lot of creative outlets that you cannot stick in your purse
no.
and take with you. So
It also doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take any time to set up. It's not messy, so you can just pick it up and drop it whenever you need to.
yeah.
So that is those it has huge advantages, and we have tried to find other activities that have that benefit. And although there are a lot of activity, I would highly recommend that people do a variety of activities. But knitting and crochet are the only ones that we found that are truly portable in this way.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. You don't have to knit or crochet with cashmere or muskox. I mean, and depending on what you're making, you could be working on a single, skein of lace weight yarn for a year, So it's I that's what I love is, there's something for every level that you want to spend.
Absolutely, yeah.
Unlike some things that are just really, just really expensive, you know, leisure activities. So yeah, so this is what people can expect, that they're going to see that there are exercises to really kind of help you maximize what you're getting out of your craft. And I think intuitively we all know we're getting something, but I think just being conscious of it and makes such a difference. Because when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. But I just never really thought about, what I'm learning about myself when I'm knitting, or what I'm getting out of it. So it's there are exercises and things are that people can expect. Yeah, Roxy says beading can be portable as long as the needle doesn't bug the TSA and you have a sticky pad. Yeah, because they can be pretty messy otherwise. You get a whole thing of beads rolling down the aisle in the airport, or,
Yeah.
or in the plane, and people, and then it's a tripping hazard. It's a whole nother story. The needle thing, I think, is, can be the toughest thing. I think especially flying in and out of the UK, where I think that the security is tougher than any airports I've ever flown in and out of. So,
I take my knitting on a plane,
yeah.
and I use circular needles, and I take off the ends, put stoppers on, put the ends in a pencil case, so no, they're not detected.
Yes.
And I carry a spare pair of ends in my suitcase, so that if the ends are confiscated, then I have my knitting and a spare pair so that I can knit when I'm away.
Oh, that's pretty clever. And I always do I always take circular needles just because they look less threatening.
Yes,
And I always take bamboo needles. Yeah, bamboo needles, as Roxy said, because they don't set off the metal detectors, and they don't look like they're sharp enough to do any damage. I mean, honestly, a ballpoint pen is sharper than a bamboo needle.
yeah.
So yeah, except right after 9/11, where nobody got knitting needles on the plane, it's really I'm not sure what that's doing there, but yeah, I can't even imagine getting on a plane without knitting. It is just the idea of it makes my heart start to pound a little bit. But so let's look at some of the.
If you find yourself on a plane without knitting or somewhere else, we what we found is that visualizing knitting works as well.
So
Uh,
I could air knit. I could basically imagine myself knitting.
yeah, but you have to imagine or visualize within sort of real time, because we know neurologically that imagining a movement or visualizing a movement actually works the same brain areas as actually doing a movement. So when you're in a stressful
Uh,
situation and you don't have your knitting with you, try visualizing it.
yeah, and then I'll maybe get my son's sweater done before Christmas that way. Maybe when I'm out playing golf, when I'm driving from hole to hole, I will visualize myself finishing those damn sleeves. So maybe, you never know. So I know you had some wonderful designers help you with this book, and all of these projects kind of are opportunities to practice the lessons in the book about really creating well-being in yourself. And I loved this use of the motifs. And I had not seen this done before, but I mean, I've seen them hung on Christmas trees, but this is so lovely. And, you know, to me, if you could decorate your entire house with knit and crochet, it would be great. But tell us about this project.
Well, this one is a calming project. So it's all the projects are a mixture of mindfulness, relaxing, visualization, or energizing projects. And this is one where you imagine that you're throwing a pebble into a pond, and the ripples are rippling outwards. So the ripples of calm rippling outwards. So the idea of this is that you can either do the visualization beforehand or during crochet, but that you also keep the mandala. You can keep the mandala in your purse if you have a tendency towards anxiety, for example, and just take it out and try and recall that feeling of calm that you got when you were crocheting, as you touch the yarn, because the tactile nature is really important.
Yeah, a little neuroscience there of using something to recall, which I do regularly in very stressful situations, like quiet places I've been and things like that. But
Yeah,
this is nice because you actually have something physical that you can do that with. And of course, the color palette too helps, I think, bring you to that place of calm because
yeah.
it just, it looks like the ocean and the sky and just that calm. I thought this was so beautiful. And this
The more
pillow,
you practice recalling, the more efficient you get at doing it as well.
oh, well, that's interesting. I usually
So you
just
can
do it when I need it, but it
just
didn't occur to me to do it when I don't need it, just so that I get better at doing it when I need it.
yeah, and then when you need it, you can just switch it on whenever, quite easily. So practice strengthens up those neural pathways.
Oh, excellent idea. And when I saw this pillow, in addition to the fact I love the color, I love the texture, this just looked like something that you would want to like hold to your chest when you are really stressed or not feeling well. I mean, way better than a hot water bottle, I think. It just has that feel to it. I think it's a combination of the color and the texture and the shape. I mean, tell us how this. Oh yeah, Roxy says this makes her want to buy more blue yarn. I totally get it. Yeah, exactly. So tell us about this project and the lessons and practice that we get from this
Again,
particular.
this was based on the ripples of calm idea. So it was linked to the same exercise as the previous mandalas. So again, it's a comforting pillow. So it was to try and evoke those feelings of calm and comfort that you get. Again, as you say, if you're not feeling too good or if you need to feel a bit calm, just cuddling this pillow can help to evoke those feelings
Yeah,
and just stroking it.
yeah. What a great way to incorporate that lesson. Because when I saw this pillow, I was like, oh, if I were sick, I would want to be like wrapped around this pillow. It just says that. It's really, really, really pretty.
And
So,
even just sitting with it in the evening can help to bring down your stress levels. It's important to bring down your stress levels on a daily basis.
yeah, and you don't want to go to sleep carrying all that stress with you because then you don't sleep well either, and it's an ugly, vicious circle. So now this is also a motif project for this yoga bag, but it has such a different feel to it. So with the bright colors and it kind of makes you want to go exercise, actually. So tell us about this project.
That's the sort of aim behind it, and this is in contrast to the calming exercise. This is an energizing one. So it's the colors are used to give you an energizing feeling that starts at your core and then spreads outwards. So it's done with a purpose to make you feel as if you have more energy, to enable you to feel more energized.
Yeah, and Kate says this is so pretty, which I agree. It's beautiful on top of the fact that, I mean, you look at it and I can feel the energy coming out of the center of those motifs and then to picture that as basically what's going on in your body and creating that energy within it. That's very cool. That's
Again,
very
again, you have that effect while you're doing it, but also every time you use it, you can learn to recall that feeling. So you again exercising those neural pathways of recall for that project.
Yeah, really nice. And then, well, first of all, I love the color palette in this, but I picked this out of the book because there's and I crochet enough that I recognize a shell motif when I see one. But the thing about I think about doing this kind of motif and it's kind of like knitting stockinette if you're a knitter. It's like it's just that kind of smooth, repetitive, um, and which I find really soothing when my nerves are a little jangled. It's like that repetitive motion that's like in a rhythm.
Hmm.
It just feels really soothing. And and this reminded me of that. It was like, oh, this would be really relaxing to crochet when I looked at this. So tell us about this project.
Well, it represents the sort of soothing wave motion of waves lapping on the shore, and it goes along with a visualization exercise of walking along a sandy shore and just listening to the gentle noise of the waves as you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that just looking at the project. And I think this too, and I've always loved this kind of a stitch, both in knitting and crochet, that looks to me like the ripples in the sand on the beach. And I grew up on the beach, and especially in the wintertime in Florida when there's nobody on the beach except Canadian tourists who think the water is warm compared to where they live. But other than that, the beach is really empty. And to me, it's my favorite time to go because you pretty much have it to yourself and the sand and just the ripples in the sand. And there's something so peaceful about that. And and Kate says this really looks like the sand and she loves the beach too. But when I looked at this, that's instantly what that reminded me of, is that quiet sand on the beach with nobody around in the winter. And this is just so pretty and so, I don't know, classic and relaxing. And tell us about the idea behind this.
But again, it's linked to the same exercise, visualization exercise of walking on the beach. So it's meant to evoke the kind of feelings that you've spoken about, the pattern of the waves on the sand, and thinking about just walking along the shoreline and how calm that makes us feel.
Yeah, just unless you're on a nude beach, but yeah, but this
Yeah.
is, yeah. But other than that, yeah, this is just, it's so pretty, and it's so evocative, of that place. So for people who love the beach or just wish they were there, and then for
But I
me,
think particularly if you do if you link it to the visualization exercise.
yeah. And then it brings it back every time you see it or touch it, which is awesome. So I'm a firm believer in handcrafted gifts because I'm always very careful about thinking good thoughts when I'm knitting or crocheting gifts for people and trying to like infuse that in my work. And if, like my nieces who all got blankets a few years ago, they tell me when they're sick, that's what they go for. They go for that blanket and they feel like Aunt Beth's love wrapped them up, which is I think the point of making handcrafting gifts. And this kind of takes the love to a more direct level. When I saw this, I thought, oh, this is so sweet. And then I want to talk about, Candy just posted something, but tell us about this adorable wall hanging project.
Well, the idea behind this was to encourage people to follow their hearts, follow their dreams, and we all hear a lot about mindfulness, but actually daydreaming is really important as well. Daydreaming gives your mind a complete mini break, and it takes away all the restrictions and the restraints and problems of normal life. So it's good for your brain, it's good for you. So yeah, you do have permission to sit, knit, and crochet and daydream.
Well, when you daydream, everything's possible, right? Everything's
Absolutely.
possible when you're daydreaming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can, learn a lot about yourself. You can explore your creativity. It also is a good way of solving problems that you may have been trying to mull over for, a number of hours. It's a known fact that when you're in a daydreaming state, the solution to a problem can often spring to mind.
Yeah, that eureka moment when you're not working at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and Candy posted something. She said that 8 years ago, knitting and crochet brought her back to normal from an extremely bad MS episode where she was unable to use her hands, and that she's never without a project. And 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 I think, and Candy, thank you for sharing that. And I think if you talk to 25 knitters, someone is going to, at least one person, and probably more, like 5 people will have a story about how knitting or crochet really helped them through something terrible, whether it happened to them or it was a family member, or it's really amazing to me how knitting and crochet has really changed so many people's lives. And people who don't knit or crochet, they kind of, especially if you knit or crochet in public, they kind of look at you a little funny. They don't get it, and they're, especially if you're not 85 years old and, and working on granny squares, they think it's just weird. And it's unfortunate, because I think basically if all government officials knit and crochet, the world would be a better place for all of
I
us.
completely agree there.
Yeah, for all of us, it would be a better place. So, but thanks for sharing your story, Candy. Um, and then and my niece just found out she's expecting, and of course this was really timely. And I love this project, not just for what it stands for, about dreaming, but I think to give that encouragement to dream to everybody is a gift in and of itself. And I thought this was such a special project. So yeah, Roxy says this is perfect. So tell us about this, because I would give this to an adult as much as I would give this to a child.
Yes, I think I would too, because it just gives the message of follow your dreams. And um, it's okay to daydream, and it's okay to follow those dreams. In fact,
Yeah.
it's good for you.
It's yeah, that's what you say. You regret the things you didn't do as opposed to the things you tried and didn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean I could see this as actually a gift to give to somebody going off to school, or or starting grade school, or going off to college, or getting married. I mean, it's just one, like, when you have a change in life, to remind people to think big, which is a good thing. So, but
Yes, because you can make it as big as you want.
yeah, and just an absolutely adorable project. So it really, that one like hits mark, and you can see like the feel good tip, which people can expect to find throughout the book as well. So it's really, it's really cute projects, but it's so much more than that. And normally it's really easy, Betsy, and when I'm doing the previews for the book, because so that people who are thinking about buying it could actually see more of the book. It's really easy because it's generally projects. It's sweaters, it's cardigans, it's household decor things. And this book is so much bigger than the projects that it was really hard to choose things. There are 20 projects in the book, and I think I have maybe 9 of them here, but it's the lessons. It's using it to heal yourself, which is so much bigger than a crochet book. And I know this book is currently listed, I think, in the craft category at Amazon. And I think it needs to be I think it needs to be in a lot of other categories, because it's not a crochet book at all. So I absolutely love this book, and I will reread the lessons in it regularly, even if I'm not making projects. So, but this is really so pretty, and I think this blanket, the chevron blanket, and I think a lot of us, like my great aunt, made one for my mother back in the 60s, and of course it was brown and gold and rust. It was the 60s. And
Yes.
yeah, right, it was the 60s. The only color that's missing was the avocado. But it's such a classic design. And I made one for my mom who lives at the beach. I made one for my mom a couple years ago. She wanted something for the back of her sofa. And I did it all in like the soft beach colors and about 20 different textures. And she just cherishes it. And it was a big project to crochet, and I don't crochet a lot, but I have to say the chevron pattern was very relaxing to actually do, because you're not keeping track of very much. but and then to watch it grow. So it was actually it was a cool project to do. But yeah, and Anne says your work is so much bigger than this book, and that you're changing the world, which that I think if we had a show of hands, that would be a big fat yes on that one. I mean, it's really, I mean, it's really such a different take on something that we love, but maybe didn't really get how much we loved it and why and what it was doing for us. But I think also for people who are working in, with people have who are in trouble, is I think maybe teaching somebody how to knit or crochet might be the best gift you can give them, along with a copy of this book. And I think it's really remarkable. And anyway, so this project is tell us about this really beautiful blanket, and props to the people at STC Abrams Books, because the photography in this book is really gorgeous and really kind of brings the feeling that you're trying to create through the exercises. They really bring it to how they styled this book as well. So this just makes me want to push that mohair off the chair and curl up in that blanket.
Well, firstly, thank you, Anne, for those lovely comments. Um, what our research has shown is that actually, and you'll all be quite pleased to hear this, that it's a good idea to have a number of different projects on the go at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes.
So that you choose your project according to what mind state you want to go into. And this project actually recommends your constant friend in the background, your nice big friendly companion in the background that you can have ongoing whilst you have lots of other little smaller projects going on. So it's something that's there all the time for you, when you need a little bit of comfort or when you need a little bit of help just to go back to. So it's a project that can go on and on and on, and you choose when you want it to stop.
Yeah, and I think, and Proxy says her unfinished objects. Thank you. And I think, is there anybody in the room who only has one thing on their hook or needles? Because I have never just had one thing on there, and I've tried. I've said, okay, I'm just going to knit this until it's finished because it's a gift and there's a date that I want to have it finished by. I have never, ever, ever been able to just have one thing, so like the wrap that I'm working on is I'm sitting in front of the TV watching an old movie, and I don't have to pay attention because I can just knit away. I have a crazy color work project that changes colors every couple of stitches. And I have the sweater for my son where I'm at a part of it that I'm not enjoying as much, and I didn't want to knit it with bad thoughts in mind, especially toward the designer. So, but I think everybody has the kind of the same thing. It's like the thing they take with them when they're waiting online, the thing that they can knit in the movie theater, the not with those light up needles, please. And and then the like the really complicated project that makes their brain stretch. I think we all do that, and I just thought it was short attention span. So, but yeah. So Candy says the more things she is going, the more she gets done. Which
Right. Yeah. I'd also recommend certainly not putting a tight deadline on your projects, because what we found is that to benefit from the therapeutic effects, you should really either knit or crochet to your own internal rhythm of the moment, what you feel most comfortable with. If you're
mm,
forced to knit or crochet at a faster rhythm than you're comfortable with, then the effects aren't therapeutic. They can be quite stressful.
yeah, and when you start turning this into stress, it actually makes you not enjoy like the craft itself so much if it becomes stressful.
No. You lose the therapeutic benefits then.
Yeah, the things that drew us to it in the first place disappear.
Mhm.
So, and this next project, it just made me grin. It actually kind of first I looked and I thought, oh, if you did that in like bright pink, that would look like watermelon slices. But I see like bunting in lots of decor websites and catalogs and things, that bunting has become really popular fabric or, crocheted or knitted buntings. And there's something just so festive. I don't think they should be saved for birthday parties, although I appreciate how they styled this. But I think that you should always have bunting up because every day celebrates something. So you should have lots of bunting and you should hang it everywhere. But tell us about this project.
This is one that is a little bit more complex. So it's a good idea to have a more complex a project on the go to actually stretch your mind. It can provide a really good focus of attention if you've got particular problems you want to forget. But also, we know that if you learn new skills, it builds new neural pathways, even in elderly people. We now know that new brain cells can be born even in elderly people, but you
Wow.
have to take action to ensure that that happens. So you have to keep learning new skills on a regular basis. So this project was aimed at giving something a little bit more challenging and moving outside the sort of comfort zone.
And then you can celebrate that with bunting.
Absolutely. Every time you look at it, you think, hey, I,
Yeah.
I achieved that.
These were some new brain cells. Yay me. So, yeah,
Yeah.
very sweet. So, and I loved these. I have always loved little crocheted and knitted flowers. I don't know, because they're just something so sweet about it, and they make just perfect, quick gifts as well. So, and these especially, like I love the, and I'm getting ready to point to my screen, which nobody will see, is the little bouquet in the bottom right corner that like is a little posy bouquet. It's just it's so sweet. But tell us what this project does for us.
Well, there are a few things behind this project. First of all, they're very portable and quick, so you get a nice quick fix. But also, they celebrate friendship, which we know is really important for well-being. And also, they celebrate gift giving. We know that if you give gifts, then it has a significant beneficial effect on your well-being. And that's been shown in brain scans.
Wow.
So there are a few things that this project celebrates.
Yeah, and Kate says the hairpins are so cute. And honestly, I mean, who wouldn't want one? And of course that you can also put a safety pin at the back and pin it to your you could pin it to your shirt and it'll be a reminder of the person who gave it to you, which
Absolutely,
is
yes.
also nice. Yeah. And they're so adorable. So, and Anne asked a question. She says, "What about helping to develop attention or brain cells discipline in children? I mean, the use of knitting and crochet for that."
Very much, very important. The Steiner schools use knitting from the age of about 7, and there are lots of teachers now who are very concerned that children only the majority of their tasks are on 2D screen-based activities, and that 3D tactile activity and those brain maps that are built around those are not being developed as they should be. So giving children tactile, 3D practical activities is really, really important for building a healthy brain and nurturing a healthy brain for the future.
Wow. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if knitting and crochet were taught to boys and girls in grade school?
It is being done in some schools in the UK now, and the boys are just as enthusiastic about the girls as the girls are
And about the
about the,
girls, but
about the girls.
it's it's the age. Well, no, they're probably too young. They think girls are yucky, but and I think they're in the US, I think crochet is probably you see more young men crocheting, but it's kind of part of that, skater, skier sort of thing. But yeah, and Candy teaches at college level, and she has many men who are you teaching needlework or knitting and crocheting, Candy? And she says she has many men in her classes these days, and actually one of our knitting and crochet, yeah, and we have one of our guests actually coming up next month is Kyle Konecki, who is a knitting designer. So we've only had I think a couple of men who were knitting designers, a few more that were crochet designers who have been guests on the party line. So I think you know, knitting and crochet are not women's work. It's good for
Absolutely
everybody's
not.
brain. It's good for everybody's brain. So,
Absolutely.
yes, I can name a few people who are, I have MSNBC on in the background who could probably stand to knit crochet. Um, my world would be a better place. So, yeah, so, and then this, I just loved the idea behind this. And because I know a lot of people, I would say probably most knitters and crocheters, um, knit or crochet with other people as well. And what I loved about this quilt project is that you could have multiple people working on it. And of course, they're tiny, so they're going to be quick projects, and they're not going to require a big quilting stretcher and an entire room to put it together. But little these you could have, because the gauge is kind of almost irrelevant to this, is that you could, I mean, 20 people could be doing this, and you could put this together as a gift for somebody who is in need, whether they've had a death in the family or they're sick, but they would have the love from all these people put together in this one project, which, can't help but help them get better, right?
Absolutely. We know that loneliness is as detrimental to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So actually getting together in groups and having a supportive network of friends is really important for well-being. And the benefits of knitting or crocheting alone are different from the benefits of knitting or crocheting within a group. Um, you get the social interaction. We know that easy banter and laughter is the opposite of your stress fight or flight response, for example. So there are a huge number of benefits of actually getting together in a group and also doing a group project where you are helping someone else or helping a charity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The greater good and contributions to that is really, and you see a lot of that of charity knitting going on. So, oh, and actually, Ann West just sent a message. She said she needs to head to a meeting, but it's an important topic, and thank you so much to both of us for this. So you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. Kate says this looks really hard. I, I don't know, Kate. I don't know that it is. I think it looks like it's these little flowers look like they're relatively simple, but and then you of course have to stitch them all together, but that's unless you just add them as you go. But I think this would go pretty quickly. I think you'd be surprised. But a fantastic gift from a group of people to create something that helps injure somebody else. So that's really nice. So, and that's just a sample of what's in the book. That's half of the projects, and nowhere near the lessons and the happy tips and the good news and the how to live better. So, I know that people are going to want to learn more because I mean, it's kind of a mind-blowing topic, and it's obviously more than we can cover in an hour. So, so if you want to keep track of what Betsan is up to and where she's going, because actually I think you're headed to New York soon.
I am. I shall be in New York from the 12th of October and heading down to Washington to actually give a talk and run a workshop in Washington on 17th of October. It's the Monday night, which is Monday the 17th of October in Washington.
And when
Yes.
you when you're here, could you teach our Congress and Senate how to knit or crochet? I
Wouldn't
think
that be fantastic?
yes, all of us in America would be grateful if you could, because I think the country would be a better place if everybody knit and crochet. That should actually be the first question we ask our candidates. Do you knit or
They
crochet?
might just start talking to each other then.
Yeah, they might actually get something done, right? Working together. So, yeah, Roxy says this is a wonderful book, which I agree. So, you can go to betsan.org and follow Betsan there. And also, if you're interested in the first book, The Knit for Health and Wellness, it is available on Amazon now, and it's also available on Kindle, which is great. And it's also available Amazon Prime, so you can get it really fast in the United States. You can get it in 2 days. So, which I highly recommend this book. It tells you, how you can use knitting, like for health issues, for social issues, I mean, it's amazing. So then you can also go to stitchlinks.com and you can read up on therapeutic knitting, and you can also, I mean, there's so much information on here. You could spend the day visiting and learning, and then of course we're gonna give away a book today, and then we'll give away a book later this week on our Facebook page, on Planet Pearl's Facebook page. But if neither of those happen for you, you can also, if you want to buy this book, first call your local yarn store, because we want them to stay in business. But if they don't, you can also come to Planet Pearl's book page, and you'll see Crochet Therapy is the first one up. And there's a little link there inside where it'll take you to purchase it at Amazon, and we can get just the tiniest commission, but it does help pay for, like, GoToMeeting for events today. And then you can also go to Stitch Links on Facebook, and this will make it really easy to keep track of where Betsan's going, because she posts about, well, first of all, just great information in and of itself, but you can, and that just made me want to not see it again. Can I unsee that? Is that there, and also great articles and links to information, about well-being and where she's going to be next, so you can, track her down, but not in a stalkery kind of way. So if you don't win a copy today, of course, you want to go to Planet Pearl's Facebook page tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, where the giveaway will start for another copy of the book. And Betsan, I know I've kept you for almost an hour. There's so much. I have like a billion questions and so much I want to know. I'm just going to start reading, and that one, I'm sure that'll answer most of it. But what an amazing, amazing book, and what a contribution just to the world at large. And it's really been an honor to meet you. It's really been an honor. So thank you for taking time out of your day and coming to visit us on the party line. And I encourage everyone to add this book and the knitting book as well to their library, and to really get the most out of knitting and crocheting and creating a wonderful state of well-being for yourself, because we all deserve it. We all deserve it. So thank you so much, Betsan. It's really been an honor to meet you. And I hope we'll see you again soon. Are you working on another
Yeah,
book?
I am actually. I've just finished the text for another book. I
Well,
can't divulge what about yet.
yes. It's super secret, but I
The
it's
secret,
it's
yes.
super secret, but will you have a US publisher? Can you share that?
Probably yes, but not. I can't share it as yet.
Okay. So,
And I'm also planning another self-published book on well-being.
oh, well, I hope when you get that done, you'll drop me an email and come back and visit us.
I will do. Yes, that would be
Terrific.
great.
Thank you. So, everyone take care. Stick around, because I'm about to give away a book. And then don't forget, next week we have Andrea Rangel with Rugged Knits, which are basically clothes, beautiful knitted clothes are intended to be worn, not just admired in your closet, to be worn and worn and worn and worn and worn. So hang on, and we're going to give away a book. And thanks again, Betsy. And if you hang on for a second, you can help me choose the number for the winner.
Okay.